Hello everyone. So for my final project, um, so me and Aska did this project, and for our final project, it's gonna be about prediction of diabetes results in patients using logistic regression. So about this data set, uh, so all the patients here are at least 21 years old, of, and they are female. So the target of this final project, it's going to be predicting uh, which patients have diabetes or not based on the diagnostic measurements taken from the dataset, and also we're going to find out which features in the dataset are have the most impact on the outcome of patients, whether they have diabetes or not. So these are the steps that we have taken to create our prediction model. So first we have data loading, exploration, pre-processing, data visualization, data split, and model training. Okay, so we're gonna first off load the dataset using the pandas library, using the PD read CSV function. And so inside the data, here we have 9 columns: pregnancies, glucose, blood pressure, skin thickness, insulin, BMI, diabetes, pedigree, function, age, and outcome. Alright, so the outcome, uh, it gives off a value of 0 or 1, 0 being negative, for 0 being no presence of diabetes, and 1, which means 1 being uh, tested positive for diabetes. Alright, and so here we're gonna check. So the outcome is the target feature that we are going to use, and so for so these are the data types inside. We have no missing values. That's good. And okay, so about the data itself, we can use df.describe. So what this does is it gives off the quantity, average, standard deviation, minimal value, and the lower and upper quartile, and the maximum value. Okay, pretty clear. And so about regarding the contents inside, here we have a problem actually. We can see that in the minimal values we have glucose 0. We have 0 glucose, 0 blood pressure, 0 skin thickness, 0 insulin, and 0 BMI. And what we already know in real life, that's impossible for a human being to have none of these inside their body. So we're gonna change that. What we're gonna do is, so for the values that have 0, so here it is: glucose, blood pressure, and the others. We are going to replace them with a mean plus a random number using random seed times the standard deviation minus random number times 2 and times standard deviation. So we don't just use the mean outright, because that would mean that the average value would be accumulated in the end. It's gonna hinder our result, like not having the expected outcome. So what we're gonna do is give it a little bit of randomness. So that's what the dataset looks like after the imputation. Okay, so far so good. And here we have visualization. So here we have the amount of patients that are not that don't have diabetes and have diabetes, and these are the features that this is a distribution plot showing all the features which we can tell by like visually, which of them are in correlation to the outcome. So here we have pregnancies. There's not much correlation there. Like the more pregnancies you have, but actually there's a bit. So the more pregnancies you have, the more likely you are to get diabetes. So just by looking. And here we have, it's very clear. So what this shows is the higher glucose levels there are in your body, in the body of the patients, then they're more likely to get diabetes from it. So here, as you can see, like the more, yeah, and the rest, they don't seem to have any correlation apart from BMI. There's just one, it's not much of a trend. So like apparently the heavier you are, you are also more likely to get diabetes. And here, these are the age of people that mostly have diabetes. And so you can tell by looking at the glucose, starting from 75, and it gets really dense between actually it starts from 150 and gets very dense between these values. Okay. And here's a correlation matrix. So as we can see, with glucose is the darkest, so therefore it does have the most correlation. Like it's 0.477 in comparison to the others. And okay, so what we're gonna do next is split the data. A 70-30 split of training and testing. So for the training, for the baseline model, we're going to use logistic regression. So here we have so here's a little bit about logistic regression. It maps any values to a number. So the outcome, it maps the outcome into a 0 or 1. And that's what we have here. Fitting the data here, and these are the results. Where is it? So baseline model gives us an accuracy of 0.74. This is not really good because for a training model to be at least accurate, it has to be at least 80%, and 74% is basically it's as good as a random choice. And so what we're gonna do is we can improve it by tuning the hyperparameters. So I'm gonna use 3 parameters. That's for logistic regression. So that's C. C is the regularization strength. I also implemented a solver algorithm, and max iter, that's optimization algorithm. Again, so as we can see, a C regularized the strength. The model, it controls the amount of shrinkage, and basically so it reduces the chance of overfitting. Actually no, because there's more shrinkage, there's more potential for the overfitting. And yeah, solver, that's the solver algorithm. Max iter, so increasing the value of max iter can find a better local minimum for the algorithm, but also increase the running time. But that shouldn't matter much because the dataset itself is small. So yeah. So these are the values that we used, and to find the potential best value, we're going to use grid search. So that's what grid search does. It search it will go through all the combinations of these hyperparameters and fit the best model for each combination, and fit a model using the best combination that it gathered from here. So as we can see, the combination of hyperparams that result in the best score are these. So what I'm going to do is create a new parameter grid using just these values that I'll consider the best, and for the final we don't really get an improvement because the accuracy is still 75% from 74%. So I think the inaccuracy of the prediction model, it boils down to the data itself. Maybe there's more features that need to be implemented, or maybe it's a problem after the imputation process. Maybe there's too much randomness that are not accurate to real life values. So yeah, so what we learned so far is we can we can load the data, pre-process it. We also did statistical analysis. We draw a conclusion based on the visuals that we draw before training the data itself, and then explaining the data and training it, and then getting the metrics, getting the evaluation metrics, and then based on that we can improve those metrics using hyperparameter tuning. So yeah, that's all. We only get an improvement of 0.01, but yeah. Thank you for watching, and good night.